Hey, how's it going, YouTube? Thank you for stopping by, checking out my YouTube page, checking out my YouTube video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. If this video has content that adds value to your life and it is helpful to you, do me a favor. Just go ahead and click on that like button or go ahead and click on that subscribe button and click on the bell, as my daughter would say, so you're notified when new videos come out. It might be a topic that you're interested in. So why are you here today? You're here today because you're trying to be an educated consumer. You're trying to figure out what's the difference between DSL, cable, and fiber, and when should you have one or the other, and what are really the differences. Okay, so there's a lot of different videos on YouTube right now that go over this, but what's the big difference between my video and theirs? I'm not just Googling things and regurgitating what I read off the internet. So this is what I do for a living, actually. This is what I've been doing for the last 15 years. So I'm giving you an inside tip for the guy who's actually in the trenches, so to speak, to tell you really what the difference is and why you should have one or the other, or when is one or the other beneficial to you. So if that's something that you think that you need information on, or you think this is going to be helpful to you, stay tuned for more information.
It's that heat, boy.
Hey, you made it. All right, so let's get down to business. You're going to learn today. All right, so I'm going to break this video down into 4 different sections, and I'm going to do that because I think it's a lot to cover. And then at the end, just kind of do a recap and just, go over what I went over. So sometimes I get a little nervous. I tend to talk fast, so I'll try not to do that. But if I talk too fast, you want to rewind, that's the beauty of YouTube. You can slow me down. If there's things I'm not covering, hit it below in the comments. Ask me. I'll answer everyone's questions. I'm normally pretty fast about answering questions. I got the notifications on my phone, so I get it. Boom. I'm gonna reply pretty much right away. If I get a lot of the same questions over and over and over, I'll definitely do a follow-up video. But I think I got it pretty nailed down. So I wrote my little script here. Got a lot of information to cover, and I want to make sure that I keep to the script and I don't kind of ramble on or look at the video act like, damn, I should have said this or that. So all right, so first thing we're talking about is how they offer you the service, meaning what type of service is it. So whether it be a DSL, cable, or fiber, all 3 of those are considered hardline configurations. And what that means, they're actually on a physical line from the service provider to your home. And that's how it works. So it's a hard line. Not to be confused that you can have wireless service in your home for a wireless router. I'm not confusing that. What I'm saying is, how does a service work? So it's considered a hardline configuration. It's a hard line that goes from the service provider to your home. Okay, so all 3 of them use different types. So DSL, they use phone lines, or also called POTS. So POTS is called plain old telephone lines. It's kind of a field acronym. So if you got a tech at your house working on your service and you drop that acronym POTS, it might give you a funny look. That's kind of like field jargon. But that's what they refer to, the old telephone lines, plain old telephone lines. POTS, that's how it operates. So from the CO, from the central office to your home, that is how you're able to get DSL service. DSL service does not interrupt your phone service. So it's not like dial-up, where if you're online, your phone line's busy. You can't make or receive incoming calls. With DSL service, you can be online, make and receive incoming calls without a problem. The only thing is, wherever you have a phone, that wall plate or that jack, you are going to have to install a DSL filter. Why? Well, because you're riding the same phone line, 2 different bandwidths, 2 different frequency ranges. So you have your phone on one, you have your internet on the other. So if you do not install that filter and you're on the phone, you could hear like a noise similar to what the old dial-up old days, or sending a fax. You could hear that in the background, but that's why they made those DSL filters, so that it takes that out. So can you make a phone call without the filter? Yes, but it's a nuisance to hear that in the background. So that's why they have those filters. Are they expensive? No, they're fairly inexpensive, but majority of all service providers, they give it to you for free. So so not a big deal. And then, they'll ask you how many phones you have, and that's how many they'll give you. And in the event they take a crap on you, you give them a call and say, hey, can you send me a new one? There, for some reason, didn't. You're talking something that's $2, $3, not really expensive. No big deal. No harm, no foul, right? So DSL service is about 90% nationwide in the U.S. So as far as service providers, they are the largest. They've been around the longest. So it's like the good old faithful. When nobody else is available, you go to DSL. So 90% nationwide coverage. All right. So cable internet service, they use coaxial cable. So it is the same coaxial cable that your provider would also provide TV service on. So there's not two lines right in your house, one for TV, one for internet. It is the same exact coaxial cable that your video service is running on. Now, to have video service and internet service, the video and internet, they do not conflict with one another. It does not affect your bandwidth, your speed connection whatsoever. That's not an issue whatsoever. And as far as readily available, it is the most readily available high-speed internet service. They're about 85% nationwide coverage throughout the United States. Okay, now here comes the big dog of them all, the King Kong, fiber optics. Fiber optics actually runs through fiber optic cable that's actually able to achieve the connection speed of light. That's kind of crazy, right? We've actually got there. The Jetsons is right around the corner. So companies such as Google, Verizon, Metronet, they're offering 100% fiber directly to your home. And they're expanding more and more every day. So right now it's only about 25% nationwide coverage. So you're thinking 25%? And that's 25% to the readily available to the public. And you say, what do you mean readily available to the public? Well, the backbone to the United States, how our internet works, how we're tied in north to south, east to west, that's all fiber. Comcast, Comcast is on fiber as well. Comcast is fiber to the node, meaning wherever your street begins. And then after that node, it goes all copper. So telephone company, they use fiber. Everyone uses fiber for the main backbones, and then it switches over to copper for the phone lines or copper for the coaxial cable. But fiber optic service providers, it's pure fiber, right? So it's becoming readily available now to customers like you or I. Before, if you wanted fiber, you had to be someone big like Microsoft or Google, and to be able to pay for something like that, But that's the cool thing about it. All right, so that's basically how it works in a nutshell. DSL uses phone lines. Cable internet service providers uses the same coaxial cable as your TV service, and fiber optics offer fiber optics. They all run straight from the service provider, straight to your home. Pretty cut and dry, right? I think we all got an understanding of that. Next topic. All right, so the comparison of these speeds, there's some drastic differences here. Okay, so DSL, okay, so I'm using like national averages. So this is when I did use Google, and I looked up different providers to see what they were offering. Because obviously I'm in the Chicagoland area, but I wanted to get a real feel for what it's across nationwide. So I looked up different companies and what they offered: Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, California, Florida. I looked all over. So, and was able to get different rates. So DSL, they're offering basically up to a 35 Mbps download and a 10 Mbps upload. Okay, so the difference between the DSL connection speeds is the closer you are to your CO or your central office, because I keep saying up to, right? So the closer you are there, you'd probably be at the top of that 35%, at 35 Mbps. The farther you are away from that central office, then you're going to be on the lower end side of that. Matter of fact, they have limitations, so they may tell you you're too far. You're too far from the CO, and we can't offer you DSL. That sucks. But because obviously you're going to DSL because you don't have any alternatives. So that's how that is. The speed is offered. So 35 download and 10 Mbps upload. That's pretty much industry standards what they'd be able to offer you. And like I said, the distances are really going to vary. Not necessarily on the provider, really on your location of your home. Okay, so cable internet service. Cable internet services, They offer on average about 500 Mbps download and about 50 Mbps upload. Okay, so if you may ask me, like, what do you mean upload, download? Like, what does that mean? So download literally means, like, you're going online, you typed in google.com, boom, that downloaded to your computer. Upload is like you emailed a picture to your sister. Make sense? Okay, so 50 Mbps download, and I'm sorry, 500 Mbps download and 50 BPS upload. Okay, so the difference with cable versus a DSL or fiber, cable is a shared bandwidth. So they always tell you up to, right? So problem is they tell you, okay, we're going to give you 500 Mbps. It's 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, it's midnight, whatever. You run a bandwidth test, you're running, man, your internet's smoking. You know what I mean? Smoking. And then let's just say 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all these kids come home and they're jumping on Netflix or they're jumping on YouTube, and they're watching they're on Pandora and they're doing whatever. These kids nowadays are all tech savvy, right? So you have one house and 5 devices online, and it saturates that bandwidth. So you were getting 500 Mbps, and now you're getting, I don't know, 300. It's about 20% normally that they say, but I've seen worse. But it's about 20%. But it's a give and take situation, okay? Because it is a shared bandwidth. So you could have 500 Mbps. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're downloading movies. Large files, because that would be illegal. And you're cranking, you're screaming. So it's give and take. Is it so drastic that you would probably not want service? Nah. But will you? If regular browsing, things like that, things you're doing, streaming, you would never notice. You'd have to be downloading major files to notice the difference. Otherwise, you wouldn't notice at all. But it is there. So if you were to test it and you were to run a bandwidth test, you would see physically the difference. Oh, wow, I'm not getting 500. And people do that. So that's just something to be aware. It's a shared bandwidth. The other thing is cable internet service. Okay, it works on a current, like electrical current. So there's an old saying: the signal being too high is just as bad as the signal being too low. Okay, the cooler it is outside, the more efficiently the service runs. So again, the cooler it is outside, the more efficiently it runs, just like a computer, right? So those nodes, when it's cooler outside or when it's hotter outside, they run more efficient. They're pumping out, some really, really strong signals. So in that threshold, if you barely made it, let's say in a plus or minus, I'm going to use 0 as an example, okay? 0 is the ideal where you want to be. And you can't be any higher than 10. You can't be any lower than -10, right? So in that spectrum of range, if you were at one or the other too high, once it gets negative, 2 degrees outside, it's going to run more efficient because it's cooler. So the signal could jump up really high. So you want to be as close to 0 as possible so that when every single time there's a 5-degree difference in temperature and the levels fluctuate, that you have that flexibility to go down and go up, go down and go up, and you never experience any problems with your service. If you are too high or if you are too low, when it gets too hot, when it gets too cold, you're going to say, you know what, I did notice that. Yeah, exactly. Because that temperature will directly affect the performance of that node. So you want to be as close to 0 as possible. So if it's bad weather and you have cable internet service, you notice your TV service sucks or your internet service sucks when it gets too hot or too cold, that's why. So you got to get your levels worked out, and then you won't have those issues. A good installer will be able to do that, so you have plenty of leeway and you won't have that problem. But it is directly affected by the temperature. 5-degree difference temperature will flux it up or down. Okay, so fiber optic. Fiber optic has true 1 gig, or they offer up to, at least right now, most providers offer up to 1 gig internet service. And it's symmetrical. So what that means is, I said a cable, they're offering 500 download, 50 upload. DSL, they're offering 35 download, 10 upload. Symmetrical means your upload and your download are the same exact speed. Nobody else does that. And the reason is because they don't have the bandwidth, to be able to offer you that. So because of the way the technology works with the fiber, they can. So with fiber optic, the weather doesn't affect it because it's light. So whether it's hot or cold, you won't have those experiences. It doesn't affect the signal at all. So as far as conditions, whether it's extreme cold or extreme hot, it's not affecting it. It's a lot more stable. So that's definitely, and the option that it has is symmetrical, so that you have the equivalent of both bandwidth. So the average person at home, when you're browsing the internet, you don't do a whole lot of uploading. Maybe you're sending emails. This upload, where those uploads would be somebody who has a mail server, an email server. They're hosting something at home, or they run a business. That's really when you want your upload. Otherwise, to be honest with you, the average Joe, the average consumer, they're probably not really concerned on the upload. They're just concerned about download, right? So those are our comparison speeds. So, all right, so now I'm going to give you some pros and cons, and I kind of touched some of them already, but DSL. So the pros of the DSL is it's affordable. It's a pretty cheap service. And I say cheap, I don't mean cheap like quality, I mean cheap on the price. It's affordable. It's widely available. I already said DSL has 90% coverage, and it's a dedicated line, so it's not a shared bandwidth like cable. It's dedicated straight to your house, and you don't have the shared bandwidth issues. However, I did say with the bandwidth, you know, um, it depends on how close you are to the CO. So the cons to DSL: slower speeds. You're only going to get up to a 35 Mbps. You're only going to get up to a 10 Bps upload. And again, that varies on the distance you are from your central office or your CO. So it's also problematic with old phone lines. Some of these houses, your house was built in the 50s. You know, the line that ran your house ran in the 50s. So at the end of the day, anything outside of your home is a responsibility of the service provider. Once it enters your home, it's a responsibility of the customer, or it's your responsibility. So if it's no line that ran to your house, no harm, no foul, they will replace it and they'll upgrade it to get you within spec to be able to offer you DSL service. If your phone lines are really old, your wall plates are really old, the biggest problem with people is that they always paint these rooms and floop, they go right over a roller or the paintbrush and they smash it right in that hole that phone line is, and then it gets all over the lines and it creates a huge mess. So if you know that you have issues with your phone lines, or if you know that your phone lines are old, my suggestion, if you're getting DSL service, when you sign up for the service, ask them for the warranty. You can pay like $5 a month, and then all your lines inside of your home, which is technically your responsibility, it's under an insurance plan, and they cover it 100%. So if they had to rewire your whole house, it costs you a dime. So you can always get the $5 plan or whatever it is, where they cost you. Keep for 2 months. Make sure the service is stable. There's no problems. Cancel it. Right? All right. So the other con is what I previously mentioned. Distance from the CO would actually directly affect your speed. All right. So those are the pros and cons for the DSL. Now for the pros and cons for cable. Pro, it's readily affordable. It's widely available. I said it's 85% nationwide in the U.S. And they offer pretty high speeds. It's not fiber, but 300 Mbps is pretty damn fast. Cons, shared bandwidth. Tell you, kids come home, they jump on the Wi-Fi. Your own kids, your neighbors, etc., etc., etc. Now, I don't mean to blame it on kids, but that's what it is. And then these teenagers jumping online, playing these online games. Probably the teenagers are doing more damage than these little kids, younger kids, the grade schooler kids who are just YouTubing it up because they're being savvy. And again, still problematic with the old cable line, just as I mentioned with the phone lines. So a lot of these houses that were wired, they were wired with RG59 line. RG59 line was actually technically wired for antenna. The old analog days, when we had analog TV service, you got away with it. Still worked. If you have an old RG59 line, you're going to see the difference. It's a lot thinner than the regular line, than an RG6 line. You're going to have problems. Absolutely, you're going to have problems. So don't allow a technician to come in and say, oh, it's RG59 line, so what I'm going to do is install an amp. If that guy says that, kick him out your house. You want to have that line replaced. Even if it works, it's going to give you problems. So just don't go down that road. if you have to pay, most of the time you have internet service installed, you get one free line, and that line is wherever that modem's going. So if it's an old RJ59 line, don't let them tell you like, oh, it's fine, it'll work. No, make them replace it. If it comes down to it that you had to pay for some reason, then they're just not budging on paying for it. Pay it. It's probably going to be 20, 30 bucks for them to install the outlet anyways, and you're not going to have a problem. Versus you paying for a service that's either not going to get the speeds you're paying for, or it's not going to work all the time. So don't be cheap on that. The other con is, like I previously mentioned, the speeds are directly affected by the temperature outside. Every time the 5-degree difference in temperature, every time the 5-degree difference in temperature, it's going to directly affect your levels up or down, up or down. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of fluctuation, either way of the spectrum from 0. Okay, the biggest con here is that due to lack of competition, most of the providers, they're not, I say it's affordable, but they're not going out of their way to give you any kind of great deals. And the reason is because they don't really have any competition. Most of the time there's one service provider in one area. So it's Cox, it's WOW, it's Comcast. It's very rare that in your backyard, oh, I have Verizon, and I have MetroNet, and I have Comcast, and I have, Time Warner. No, you don't have all those. These companies are investing in these new subdivisions. These companies are investing in these areas so that they kind of have a monopoly on that area. So when you call your service provider, whoever it may be, and you're trying to argue with them to get your price to go down, a lot of times they're not very helpful. Like, take it or leave it, buddy. That's the kind of attitude they have because they know you don't have very many options. So all right, so now we're on to fiber. Pros for fiber: it's affordable. Most of the time, a lot of the times, fiber is actually cheaper than DSL and cable. Why? Because they're new kid on the block and they're trying to gain your business. So your house is established. I keep saying that in other videos. Your house is established. You've had Comcast forever. You've had whoever you had forever to rip all your equipment out, to run new lines in your house, to dig up your yard. Because, people they get pissed. You're going to run a new line through my yard and I got the grass. You're going to kill my grass. It's a lot to convince someone to switch. Even if they know they're getting ripped off, even if they know it's not the best deal, you're like, you got to really convince me. So because they're new kids on the block, a lot of times they're cheaper, offering a lot better service, a lot faster. And, that's going to be like that for a while. I would say once cable and fiber are 1 in 1, meaning that they are as big as the cable, that pretty much everyone nationwide has the availability to have fiber, that's going to change. Because if they ran fiber in your subdivision, they put $30 million in your subdivision, they need every penny they can make back. Once the network is completed, then it's just money in the bank. They already paid for the network, and maybe they can be a little cocky. But when they're forking out all this cash to expand their network, to bring it to your subdivision, to bring it to your neighborhood, they want you to switch. So they're almost going to make you an offer you can't refuse. They're going to sweeten that deal. All right. Another pro is the symmetricals. Like I said, your upload and download speeds are going to be the exact same, and no one else will offer you that as far as when it comes to cable or DSL. Cons: limited availability. Like I said, fiber right now, it's only about 25% nationwide. Globally, it's growing. It's growing every single day, but we're still at a smaller percentage. So it's only, it's not really available everywhere. Here's the thing no one likes to talk about: bugs. Not bugs like bugs in your house. Issues. So because that fiber optic company is newer, and they bring it to your house, you have network issues, faulty lines, things that they have to work through to get the service, going well. That Comcast or AT&T, or Roadrunner, whoever these providers are, they've been there 20 years, 30 years. They worked out every kink possible. They don't really have any problems. They have problems when there's a damage, So a new service provider, new to your area, they're gonna have bugs. They're gonna have issues that they're gonna have kinks that they have to work through. Now, whether it be a network issue or whether it be equipment issue, because even then sometimes these service providers, they roll out this neighborhood 300 homes, and they use a certain type of modem, and then all of a sudden they say, you know what, they didn't like that, so they try a different modem, and it's a whole different bug, or they try different routers, from one state to another state. In Indiana they use this type, in Illinois they use this type, in Ohio they use this type. It doesn't seem like a lot of these providers for fiber, they have like a platform, a standardization across the nation. So when they move into these new markets, they have these bugs that they have to work through, whether it be the network or the equipment issues. Is it a make or break situation? You want the speed, buddy, and it's brand new in your neighborhood, you got to deal with it. And eventually they'll figure them all out, and it'll be fine. But anything new, you got to expect that there's going to be bugs. And the other problem is, because it is so new, there's not a lot of people who have the experience working with fiber optics. So the employees have lack of experience. So there's a lot of cable guys out there. There's a lot of POTS guys out there, plain old telephone guys. But there's not a lot of whole fiber guys out there. So some of these guys may be coming to your home. They may have limited experience doing fiber. So bear with them. So an overview. We got to the end now. Ready? So side-by-side comparison, we were comparing the DSL, the cable, and the fiber. I'm not bad-mouthing any company or any service. I think that each service has a unique situation when and why you would use them. So DSL is your old faithful. When you don't have cable, when you don't have fiber, you go to DSL. And that's it. It's not the greatest speeds, but what are you going to do? So there's even some cases, like I said, that if you're a certain distance from the central office, CO, you may not even be able to get DSL service. In those events, if you fall into that category, they do have what's called point-to-point internet connection. So basically what it is a lot of these guys, they'll set up these small little antennas, and they'll pay to put them up throughout your town. They may put them up on your water tower. They may put them on some tall towers, and they point them in certain directions. So then they put one on your roof, and it does a point-to-point connection. You're in a rural area and you can't get cable, fiber, or DSL. It's probably all you're going to be able to get, other than getting a hotspot from a cell phone. However, a point-to-point, you're probably only getting a 56K connection. What's 56K? Dial-up. So, and that's up to 56K. So, yeah, that sucks. All right, so as far as cable is the fastest readily available. You're at 300 megs. Pretty stable. Most of the networks, like I said, they're well established. You're not going to have network issues, network bugs, equipment issues. What I did mention about the temperature directly affecting the service, every time the 5-degree difference in temperature level is going to fluctuate up or down, as long as you have a good tech out, installation technician, and he installs your service as well and levels out your levels, season to season, weather change, you will never ever notice a difference in your service. If you do, you know why. The shared bandwidth, obviously you know that, but like I said, so if you have a smaller package, let's say you only had 8 megs, because I keep saying up to, so if you have if you had cable and you had up to 500 megs, and your speed was degraded by 20%, you're not going to really notice the difference, right? But if you have a smaller package, let's say you went down to 30, or let's say you went down to 8, that's when you're going to notice that your internet's slower. When you have a high package, and they knock off some of them, they steal some of your bandwidth to share it to the neighbors, like, you don't notice it at all. You have a small package and they steal some of your bandwidth, that's when you're going to notice it. So a lot of times there's not a big difference in the price from like an 8 to a 30, or from a 30 to the. So really, don't get the bottom feeder. If you don't need to go all the way to the top, just get the middle tier, and then that way, if there's a shared bandwidth, blah 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 blah, you're really not going to notice it. But if you go all the way to the bottom, and around the peak times your internet sucks or just too slow, you know why. So then just either upgrade your package, or if it's available, switch to fiber. Eliminate that problem. Okay, so fiber. Well, fiber is a beast. As of right now, that's King Kong, man. It's the fastest internet service provider that they have nationwide. Most providers are offering up to 1 gig service. Residential and commercial, they're offering up to 10 gigs. So That's insane. You know, especially symmetrical, like I said, upload and download, you know, the same. So, and like I said before, a lot of times your fiber optic is going to be the cheapest guy, not the most expensive guy. So, what's my advice? My notes. Here's my advice. If I lived in a rural area and I couldn't get fiber or cable, I get DSL. I wouldn't want to do the POTS. I'm sorry, I wouldn't want to do the point-to-point. The hotspots, yeah, you could do it, but you know what? They don't have unlimited. And they'll tell you they have unlimited, but after so much bandwidth, then they throttle you and it makes it so slow it sucks. So, in a worst case scenario, if I lived in a rural area and I couldn't get DSL, I'd get a hotspot on a cell phone. I wouldn't deal with the point-to-point at all. It's too slow. And then it just sucks. I'd really conserve my bandwidth if I was on a cellular to make sure that I'm not just wasting data. So, all right. So cable internet service, we've had it for years, right? You know it's stable. We've been through this DOSIS 2, DOSIS 3, and our speed just keeps going up and up and up. The good thing about cable is a lot of times you're able to purchase your own equipment. You buy your own cable modem. Those who went through those last 3 upgrades, it sucks you had to buy a modem 3 times. But I think DOSIS 3 is pretty much where we're going to be for a while. So you won't have to buy new equipment. Fiber optic, I have yet to see a provider allow you to use your own equipment. You have to lease it from them. So you are gonna get hit with that equipment fee. However, if you pay $8 for a modem, but you save $20 in internet service, and you went from a 300 meg internet connection to 1,000 megs or 1 gig, no brainer. So again, if you can get fiber optic internet connection speed, do I suggest you get it? Yes. And get the biggest package. You don't buy a Ferrari and get a governor on it, buddy. You get it so you can go balls to the wall. You know, that's it. So I hope I didn't drag this video too long, babbled. I wrote a script so that I kind of kept to it. I made sure I kept to the point, keys, things. I think that kind of covers everything. Now you're able to make an educated decision if, why, or when you should have these. And also give you a little background too if you're having these, if you have one of these services, DSL, cable, or fiber, and you're experiencing some issues, maybe what it may be, what the problem is. So thanks for watching. God bless. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Any questions, throw it in the comments. Like I said, I'll answer. I always probably most of the time within a couple minutes I answer the question. So I'll keep these videos rolling out as long as you guys keep liking them and say you want them. So thanks for watching. Bye.